Hello, I think we're live. Give me 1 second to refresh my YouTube and get caught up with everyone. 1 second. YouTube is so slow. Come on, YouTube. There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm here with Jess Nelson. We're going to talk to you about some Vallow Daybell stuff today. Go through all the documents that you see up on your screen. And we're also going to talk about the Orrin and Orson West case at the end of today's show. So, hi, I'm glad to see you all. Rosie, thank you for being here. Thanks for being mod today. Hi, Sam, Nola, AF. Who else we got? Miss Sophia, Deborah, Sam, Carol, Barcelona. Hi, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Flame Lily. How are you doing? And Jess, hi. How are you? How is your day going?
I'm good. I had a nap.
Naps are excellent.
Yeah, I
Go
thought
for
I
one.
needed a nap because this is like hard work.
It is because we got a lot of reading and talking to do today.
Yeah, I'm good though. I'm good.
Hi, little lady Di. Hi, Danielle. I hope you're both doing really well. All right, so today, the first thing that I want to do is go through some of these big document dumps that we've gotten in the last week or two. Justin Lum has been on this case like nobody's business. All of the links to his social media are down in the description, so please feel free to follow Justin on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. He's the one who got his hands on these documents and brought them out for us to look at first. So the first one we're going through, this one is actually hosted right now in East Idaho News with Nate Eaton. So go to eastidahonews.com, another link in the description. The first document that we're going to go through and talk about is the document about Alex Cox's death. Right, these are the police reports, the witness statements, all that stuff that we haven't really seen before. We've had some idea of them, but now we have them right in front of us. Jess, have you had a chance to read through these documents, and what do you think of them so far?
I did. They answer a few questions, but I think they just pop up some more than we had. So I'm not sure how useful they are, but they're interesting.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. So let's jump into this one. This is the report that was made right when police found Alex Cox and subsequent statements that were made. There's a lot of it is redacted, so we're not going to read all 59 pages, but it starts with them basically saying, hey, we were dispatched to the address and we found an injured or ill person. All right. And the statement on the first page that struck me was, while the Guilford Fire Department was working on Alex, this person filing this, who is one of the officers, says, I spoke with the RP, Joseph Lopez. That is Zulema's son, the one who found Alex. Joseph advised me that he was in his bedroom with the door closed and headphones on, and his mother, Zulema Pastenes, called him and asked him to go check on Alex. Joseph advised me he went in his mother's room and found Alex unresponsive on the bathroom floor. And according to Joseph, Alexander was gasping for breath and had vomit coming from his mouth. Joseph said he tried to clear the vomit from Alexander's mouth as directed by the 911 dispatcher, but he couldn't. So Joseph said he then began having a panic attack and was unable to assist any further. So that's quite an opening. Did you get anything new out of that, or was that kind of stuff we basically knew already?
Yeah, I think we knew. I mean, most of that we gathered from the 911 call. I think that police report makes him look a little better than the 911 call did because he really seemed like, I don't want to touch him. It's gross.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like that was what you got out of the 911 call. He didn't want to do CPR. Didn't want to have his hands anywhere near him. But I don't think it was anything we didn't already know.
I agree. The next page basically just says that Zulema said that Alex hadn't been feeling well over the past few days. Now, we knew about that. We knew about that claim. She said that Alex had been suffering from shortness of breath with the slightest of movements. Zulema advised she received a text message from a family friend, redacted, telling her that she needed to get home and check on Alexander. Zulema said that is when she called her son to go check on Alex. So, who was the one that called her? Who would have called Zulema from the house and said, hey, you need to go home and check on Alex?
I'm going to guess it's Chad.
Right. There is a lot of discussion out there in the world that this is Chad's involvement. Although the redacted block is not big enough for Chad Daybell, but it's too small for just Chad. So
what about Melanie?
Melanie is what I was thinking by the
Yeah.
length of that block. So I don't know. We don't know. That's all speculation. But somebody called her and said, hey, go home and check on Alex. Who would that have been? Who would he have been in contact with that morning? So there's question number one.
What day did Melanie say she talked to Alex and asked about the kids, and he said, "You don't want to know." Do
Oh,
we know what day that happened?
we don't know what day that was. We don't. So,
But I'd be curious to know if that's what day that happened.
I was thinking more Melanie Pulowski, because we know that her and Alex were pretty close at this time. So,
But if you think it's the same person that's doing the blessing, it won't be a woman.
we do have, I think Justin Lum, did he confirm that it was Chad that did the blessing?
Oh, okay. I didn't know
I
that.
think that he did. That's coming up later in the document.
I wondered if it was Melanie's new husband, David Warwick.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know.
All right. So moving forward a little bit, next in the narrative, it says at approximately 15:34 hours, Officer Truckenbrod and I arrived at the address regarding the ill person. They were on scene prior to fire department was on scene prior to their arrival. They went upstairs and observed an unconscious male subject identified as Alex Cox. Fire was performing life-saving measures, and I returned to my patrol car to start a crime scene log. They waited in the household's living room with Alex's stepson, that would be Joseph, later identified as Joseph Lopez. Joseph has two sisters who eventually showed up to be with Joseph. I did not allow any subjects to the second floor of the residence other than detectives and officers. Waited till 18:45 hours and switched posts with Officer Krasik. So we have a lot of details about who was on the scene, when, why, and where. That would be important if this was being looked at as a criminal case, don't you think? But I think that this was just being looked at, oh, the guy got sick and died, so we're keeping it kind of calm. That's the impression I get from all this.
Yeah. At this point, the report from the hospital changes my mind, but we haven't got there yet.
Yep. We'll get the next one is just another statement of officers and where they were, what they were doing. The next page is field training officer to Officer Aldor. They were dispatched to the address about the sick and injured person, proceeded to the second floor. Fire department was providing life-saving efforts. They knew it was Alex Cox. I observed somebody or something in the bathroom on the floor and bathtub where Alex was initially located. That's blacked out. I don't know what that is. So I observed something in the bathroom on the floor and bathtub where Alex was initially located by the reporting party. Officer Aldor was assigned to establish a crime scene and a crime scene log. While waiting for a search warrant to be obtained for the house, we remained inside the residence to hold the integrity of the crime scene while other family members were present. Now, right here, if they didn't suspect anything,
right,
it would not have been designated as a crime scene, right? If I go into my bathroom and just have a heart attack and die on the floor, and fire and police show up, they're not going to designate it as a crime scene unless there's something suspicious in play. All right. So what did he observe on the floor in the bathroom that made them designate it as a crime scene? Because that makes it different. And then they immediately went to get a search warrant. Okay. So that's curious to me.
I'm going to guess it's medication, a medication bottle. If he thought he was having, we know that he went and picked up medication in Mexico, but we don't know what medication it was, correct?
Right.
Okay. I'm curious to see what medicine he was on.
Right.
Or could it be insulin?
It could be, well, that would be a medication. It could be drugs, illicit drugs, not prescriptions. So who knows what they found, but something in that bathroom made them say, whoa, this is a crime scene, not just somebody who got sick.
But we don't have like illegal drugs in his tox report, right?
I don't think so. I
don't think so either. Okay.
Yeah. From what I remember. Scrolling through all these pages that are just forms and redacted.
You have to swim.
All right, over here, this page, it's so redacted that the only thing on the page is going over stuff we already know. Okay. Let's see, what did it say? I'll read through it real quick, make sure we're not missing anything. The officer says, I was familiar with Alexander, was residing at the residence with his wife, Zulema Pistenis Porter. That's the first time I've seen the hyphen Porter on her name.
Goodness.
Who he had recently married. Zulema's adult son, Joseph, also resided at the home and was the reporting party to the incident after he located Alex in the master bedroom or bathroom, that we know. Assisted beginning to draft a search warrant for blank. Okay. What were they looking for? The warrant was subsequently turned over to Detective Pilar, who we've heard his name a lot in all of these cases. Detective Pilar keeps popping up everywhere. The search warrant was granted at the end of 21:34 hours. The warrant was executed at the residence. I participated by taking digital images of the overall residence to include the master bathroom and master bedroom where Alex was located. I also assisted in searching the residence and vehicles for items seized as evidence, but we don't know what they were looking for.
So here's my question. Did the people who responded already know who Alex Cox was? Or did they think they were just responding to, a medical emergency and saw something incriminating and then got the search warrant? Or did they know, hey, this dude's tied up with this missing kids case, and then, oh, well, this kind of looks fishy, that could have to do with the kids?
Right. I don't see anything in this report
Right.
that indicates that they had a heads up about Alex beforehand.
So
But
that would change
it would.
what I think they got the search warrant for. You know what I mean? Because, like, if they knew who he was, it could be a cell phone that had a picture of the kids on it, or something, something crazy. I don't know. But the chances of them knowing if they didn't know who he was when they responded, it's got to be like a pill bottle or something.
Mm-hmm. All right, and the next page again is almost completely redacted. I would assume this is about the search warrant and what they found, because it says a copy of the search warrant and receipt for item seized was left, but we don't know what's on that receipt. Moving on, Detective Pillar requested the data something be extracted pursuant to a search warrant. Okay, so that's probably either cell phones, laptops, tablets, that kind of thing. And then we have a list of 3 evidence items that are redacted. So we don't know what they took. We do know at some point that Zulema did turn over Alex's cell phone. So that could be part of this right here. Okay. And more. Here's all the evidence. So, yeah, you can see on your screen, we have no idea what they took. Completely redacted. Okay, as far as all that statement. What I want to get to is Zulema's statement, because these are all just responding officers saying the same thing. All right, let's start with this part right here. Joseph is Zulema's son. He's the one who found Alex. He I don't think he thought they were married at the time, because he said, an adult male. He didn't say my stepdad on his call. So
doesn't he say it's his mom's boyfriend at one point?
Yep.
Or fiance. I don't remember which one, but it definitely wasn't husband.
Yeah, the following is a summary of their interview with Joseph. So Joseph lived at the address for approximately 1 year. Joseph said he lives with his mother Zulema, and he lived with his mother so she could help him with his anxiety. Joseph did not attend a school and was currently unemployed. Joseph said Alex recently moved into the home after his mother and Alex became engaged. So at this point, he doesn't even know they're married. That's kind of weird. Alex stayed in the same bedroom as his mother, and Joseph did not know Alex, but they had talked in passing. Again, that's weird. That's just me. Joseph said he usually wakes up around 1,400 to 1,500 hours every day due to him staying up late. And on 12/12, Alex was awake when he received a telephone call from his mother. The he in that sentence is Joseph. So Alex was awake when Joseph received a telephone call from his mother. She asked Joseph to go check on Alex. She has never called Joseph and asked him to check on Alex in the past. Joseph did not know the reason why his mother asked him to check on Alex. The telephone conversation ended, and a few minutes later, his mother called Joseph a second time, and Joseph said she sounded serious when she asked him to just call the cops, and told Joseph she was on her way home from work. Now, this part is kind of confusing to me, all right, because Zulema calls Joseph and says, hey, can you go check on Alex? And Joseph's like, what? All right. So he goes to check on Alex, but somehow in the meantime, a few minutes later, Zulema calls Joseph back and says, just call the cops. It's like, well, how did she know something had changed between her first call and then a couple minutes later to change it to, instead of check on him, just call the cops? Did she call Alex? Was Alex on the phone with her? What do you think happened in that?
Either she called Alex and didn't get a response, or to, send him a text message or whatever, or somebody else has called him and has then called her, is what I would guess. The thing that sticks out to me in this story already is they've made it a point to say that he stays up really late and that he had been up really late and was playing video games and had a headset on. How does he know that Alex was awake?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean,
That's what I want to know. Did he
yeah.
come out? Was he walking around? Was he okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
I mean, we're gamers and we have teenage boys that are gamers. They can't hear crap when they've got a
Right.
headset on and are playing a video game.
Yep.
So how does he know Alex is awake? And why is that a point? It's kind of like when Melanie Gibb points out that it's a touching moment that JJ is asleep on Alex.
Right.
It's a weird thing to point out if it doesn't mean something to somebody somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't match the rest of the story. Either he was completely tuned out of it and stepdad's dying in the bathroom, or he's lying about what he was doing.
Yep.
And
Now,
he doesn't want to touch him for a reason other than he's being gross. Is he having a panic attack because he had something to do with it?
oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
You know
I
what I
don't know.
mean? I mean, if he's lying about, and I'm not saying that he is, I'm just saying these are questions that pop up in my head. I'm not accusing the kid. I don't know. But it's weird that he has a statement that he had a headset on and was gaming and had been up all night, but Alex was awake. But then he acts like he couldn't have heard him,
Right.
or whatever. It's weird.
Yep. So this part is confusing, but just to go over the 2 points that I'm looking at chat, it says right here from the officer statement that Joseph said that they were engaged. So Joseph knew that that Alex was at least his mother's fiance at this point, right? Because it says here in the report. But as far as who called who when, just where we are right now, all we know is that Zulema called Joseph, said, go check on Alex. A few minutes passed, and Zulema called Joseph back and said, just call the cops. All right, so something happened in between those 2 minutes that alerted her that more was needed than just Joseph going to check on him. So,
Don't you wonder why she said call the cops and not call the ambulance?
it could just be a linguistic thing. I don't think that's. I don't know. We'll look more at her statement and see if we get any more about that.
Yeah.
Moving on, Joseph knew the request had to be serious because his mother never left work early. Alex ran into the master bedroom and opened the door of the master bathroom. What? What do you mean Alex ran into the master bedroom?
This
You know what I mean?
whole second half of the statement, they've completely switched Joseph's name to Alex.
Yeah, that's what that seems to me.
And I don't know why anybody hasn't fixed it before they released it, because it just goes stupid.
Yep, it even says further on, Alex said he had to look away due to the smell. So no, they've just got the names wrong and messed it up in the report, and that's bad. That's bad. They should have fixed that. But Joseph ran into the master bedroom and opened the closed door of the master bathroom. As soon as Joseph looked inside, he observed Alex was something lying on his right side with vomit coming out of his mouth, and Joseph stated that there was something on the bathroom floor. Joseph said that he had to look away due to the smell and something else. Joseph immediately called 911. The 911 operator asked Joseph if Alex was breathing, and Joseph told the operator Alex sounded like he was exhaling. Joseph looked at Alex's chest, was unable to observe Alex's chest rise or fall as he was exhaling. Alex and Joseph were the only two in the house at this time and date. So that's very confusing with the mixed up names, but we can get a pretty clear picture of at least what Joseph said happened when he discovered Alex. All right. And the rest of this part is redacted.
Yeah, it changes my view on Zulema, because if you listen to the 911 thing, as soon as she comes home, she starts screaming. And I thought, well, she doesn't have a clue what in the world is going on. But now that they've released this, that's kind of weird.
Right. She definitely knew something was going on.
Yeah. So what's the screaming about?
Yep. She knew that Alex was sick. She was the one who told Joseph to call the cops. So she shouldn't have been that shocked when she walked in the door. Right. Now, let's move on to Kara. Kara O'Nofferton. This is Zulema's daughter. And I thought this was kind of interesting. And let's pay attention to some of the points she makes, because they contradict Zulema pretty harshly. Yeah. So I'll read the first few paragraphs and we'll talk about it. This is the interview with Kara. Once I went back downstairs, I contacted Kara O'Nofferton, who had just arrived at that residence and claimed to be the daughter of Zulema Pestenis. She stated she came into the residence after being called by her brother, Joseph. Kara used to live at the house until Alex moved in, and Kara stated in the past her mother has had numerous different male relationships in which they end up living with them, and she did not want to go through it again, so she moved out. Interesting. Kara did not know Alex, but knew that he and her mother were engaged to be married. So both kids are saying that they were fiancés at the time. Kara and Alex had been communicating passing, but they did not have any in-depth conversations. Kara referred to Alex as being very religious. Alex moved into the residence around Thanksgiving 2019. So right there, that's some interesting things just in those few statements.
Yeah, I did not think anybody in this case had ever accused Alex of being religious. I thought that was so weird. And the other thing that sticks out is if she has men moving in like a revolving door, it doesn't sound like she's very religious,
Right.
which also is weird because it's never made sense. Like, where did this woman come from?
Yep. So
Of
that's
all the
weird.
quickie
If
marriages, it's weird. She doesn't seem to be religious, but
if Kara had only had a few passing conversations with Alex, why did she have the impression that he was very religious? Were there a few passing conversations that were not in depth, all about religion? That seems really strange to me, but who knows? Who knows what the heck happened there?
yeah.
Kara goes on to say that Alex's sister Lori and her mother, meaning Zulema, had been good friends and attended the same LDS church. Kara called her mother and Lori preppers and explained that preppers were preparing for the end of the world. And it was the relationship between her mother and Lori is how Zulema met Alex. Kara's mother, Alex, knew each other. Kara's mother and Alex, Zulema and Alex, knew each other before Alex moved to Idaho. Her mother planned on moving to Idaho to be with Alex, but it was ultimately Alex who decided to move back to Arizona to be with Zulema. Again, that's sort of strange to me.
I don't know. It's weird.
I have a hard time imagining Alex wanting to move away from Lori to be with Zulema. What's going on there? Okay, so a lot of the stuff that Kara says is a little bit contradictory to what we thought we knew before. So the last part of this statement, when Alex moved to Arizona from Idaho, he brought his niece, Melanie, who we now know as Pulowski, with him. Melanie drove separate from Alex, but stayed with the family at the address. Kara stated that Melanie returned to Arizona from Idaho to pick up the remaining items she had left in Arizona. And once Melanie was finished, she drove back to Idaho. Kara does not know any of other Alex's family members besides Lori and his niece Melanie. So there you go. But now we know some movements of Melanie Pulowski at this time, right around Thanksgiving.
Maybe he doesn't want her to move to Idaho because, he's just buried 2 dead kids in the backyard in Idaho and figures Arizona might be safer.
That's quite possible. That is definitely possible. So that's what Kara says. Now, interestingly, she says that her mother and Lori, that Zulema and Lori were very good friends, and they were preppers, and they went to church together, and all this stuff, and yada yada yada. That kind of flies in the face of what Zulema says later on, which we're going to get to right about now. Excuse me. Okay, this is the supplemental report. Again, from the same detective, the interview with Zulema Pastenis. Now, this was very interesting to me. So we're going to go read through it. I'm going to skip as much as I can because we're going to be here for all day if we read all of it. But here we go. Zulema asked me why she was being questioned and if she was considered a suspect in the death of her husband. Right there. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. Because at this point, they haven't even declared him dead, correct?
Well, let me back up. Let me read the first 2 paragraphs. And we'll go back. Sergeant Woden called me and told me to respond to Banner Gateway Hospital regarding this case. Alex Cox had been transported to the hospital and was pronounced deceased. I was told his wife, Zulema Pastenis, was at the hospital with an officer standing by. I arrived at the hospital and located Zulema in a trauma room, seated next to her husband, Alex. Zulema appeared upset and was reluctant to speak to me at first. She eventually agreed to speak to me in a separate room, and the following is a summary. And the first thing she did was say, "Am I a suspect in the death of my husband?"
Oh, goodness.
That
Now I know
to
why
me,
she has an immunity deal.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that seems like a big problem to me. I cannot imagine if I was at the hospital and my husband had just passed away and the officers come in to talk to me. That would be the first thought on my mind.
I want to know why there's an officer posted in the room with her and her dead husband.
It
I
doesn't say that.
could Well, it says that there's another officer in the room with her, right?
Where? No, it says, I arrived at the hospital and located Zulema in a trauma room seated next to her husband.
Okay.
The officer
I guess
walked
I
in.
rubbed into that one then. But yeah, they've got to, I mean, number one, why is the cop showing up? If this is a normal thing, she knows her husband is dead. Who took her to the hospital? Surely to goodness, if she was that hysterical, she didn't drive herself.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the cop coming in the room? And why does
Right.
she hands up, I didn't do it?
Yep. And remember, shortly after finding him in the bathroom, they labeled it a crime scene and started to pursue a search warrant. So right here, yes, Zulema is either incredibly, prescient, and thinking, okay, they think something's wrong. Maybe she knew because she was at the house. So maybe she knew that they had designated a crime scene. So maybe she had that heads up. That's
So
possible.
this makes me want to take my pill bottle in the bathtub or in the floor or whatever back. Like what could it be that they were like, yeah, this is a crime scene?
Right.
Is it a weapon?
Possibly. Yep. We don't know what they found in the bathroom floor.
I mean, what would
Something
you
made
take
them.
with you in there?
Yep.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but it is all kinds of weird.
Yep.
I want
So
to know
yeah.
if she had I'd like to know about life insurance too. We still don't know that.
Yep. I have to say that I've watched thousands of hours of like Rescue 911 and Night Watch and all those kinds of shows. And when they find a death that they assume is just a natural death, they don't ever just automatically make it a
No.
crime scene. They don't. So something tipped them off. And if she was in the home when they did that, she may have heard it and she may have known that they were suspicious about it. So that could be why she asked.
Well,
But
I
that
mean,
does scream consciousness of guilt to me.
it makes me flashback to the Rosenbaum trial. Even the 911 responders said there's something wrong here, but they didn't declare it a crime scene.
Right.
So that tells you there's something weird, there's something big if that's their automatic response and they don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jamie Smith in chat says, what if it was a confession written? Maybe they found a note on the floor. That's possible. A lot of words could fit in that little redacted block.
Oh, crap. Yeah. I never even thought about that. What if he was trying to
Mhm.
write something out? It was my crazy sister.
Yep, that's a really good point. All right, so let's move on. Zulema said that she had been married to Alex for only 2 weeks and had known him for about a year. She rented the house they live in, and she has lived there for about 2 years. So she had the house before Alex moved in. Alex began having shortness of breath on December 6th. He had traveled to Mexico on the 7th to pick up some prescriptions for himself and Zulema.
Right.
It was a single day trip, and he arrived back home in the evening. When he arrived home, their grandkids were at the house. I would assume that means Zulema's grandkids. Alex was playing with the kids and became easily winded. Zulema had never seen him react that way before, and he was short of breath and had to sit down to take a break. He seemed to be struggling for breath. A couple of days later, he went to the kitchen to get a bottle of water and became winded and had to sit down. Zulema begged him to let her take him to urgent care, but Alex refused, and he said he would be fine. He would become winded walking up and down the stairs. On the evening of 12/11, she asked him again to let her take him to the doctor or the hospital, and Alex again refused and stated the doctors don't know what they are doing. Now, what do you think of that? I have quite a few thoughts about this little paragraph.
Well, I bet he wasn't so winded when he was digging up the backyard.
Mm-hmm. But then that would 2 months
Something,
ago, 2 months
yeah.
prior to this.
But I
Yeah,
mean, still, I mean, as far as like medical stuff goes, that's an onset really fast of
right.
whatever this is. It also points out that he wasn't feeling good before he went to go get the medication. So it's not that he got bad medication in Mexico before anybody tries to lie onto that.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't go to doctors apparently, and
Yep.
was
Now,
more than happy to go get it in Mexico.
yep, there are two things, actually three things that this paragraph makes me think. First off, a lot of people have talked about, oh my God, he went to Mexico to get drugs. No, he did
Yeah.
not. A lot of people, certainly in the South, will go into Mexico to pick up prescriptions. Even my ex-husband's mother, who was from Mexico, would drive there to pick up his asthma meds because they were incredibly cheap. Okay. So a lot of people do that. That's pretty common. That's not a big deal. But what I'm thinking is, okay, number one, we do know that there's a history of blood clots in the family, right?
Yeah.
With his brother and his father. So it's possible that was coming on and that's what was causing the shortness of breath. We do know that his death was ruled by pulmonary embolism, which makes sense. However, we also know that COVID was around in December. maybe, do you
Oh,
think maybe
dang. I
that
didn't
he
think
got
of that.
hit with COVID because it was a couple days, quick onset and boom. Maybe. You know what I mean?
I
So
wonder if they tested him for that.
I don't know. I don't know.
Because it says they have tissue samples, right?
Yep. Yep. So I don't know if they could still detect antibodies at this point in time, but it could have been something like COVID. So let's not jump to any of the
Can we
crazy
call him a
conspiracies.
super spreader now, too? Like,
Yeah.
hang that one on him? Oh,
But
my
so,
God. But it also highlights it going back to his dead sister, Melanie's mom, Stacy.
yep.
She did not get medical intervention, and I have the same crap that she did. I cannot imagine
Yep.
not being under a doctor's care. I mean, it took me 10 months to get diagnosed, and it was hell. I can't imagine knowing what it is and not seeking treatment.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
the
So,
whole family sounds like they are doctors don't know what they're talking about. So kind of
yep. So
crazy.
Feeding It says she thinks if it was COVID, it would have taken a bit longer. Not necessarily. I mean, one of my friends that died of COVID got sick on Saturday and was dead by Wednesday morning. So, you
Yeah.
know, it did affect some people very quickly. And this was 6 days because he started showing symptoms on the 6th and was dead on the 12th. So 6 days, it's possible, but we don't know. It's totally speculation. Okay. But, they definitely hot Scorpio, I don't know if they would have tested for it
I
because
don't
back in
think so
December
back
it
then.
wasn't a known thing to look for. We didn't really know about it till the end of January and February of this year. So about a month after he died, they might not have tested for it.
Wasn't yesterday like the 1 year mark of the first time it kind of hit the media
Yep.
here? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Now,
wouldn't have done that then.
the other thing that this makes me think, certainly if he went to Mexico on the 7th, we will have a record of that, right? There'd be some record of the border crossing. So, has that been proven? I don't know yet. Law enforcement would know. Was he actually sick, or was this just Zulema's story to explain what happened? We don't know. We don't know. But if we assume that this is true, he had been sick for about 6 days before he died. Okay.
Stupid question. Do you have to have a passport to go to Mexico? You don't have to have a passport to go to Mexico, do you? As a
Um,
U.S. citizen.
I don't know. I've never tried.
Oh, I'm stupid. I went on a cruise. No, you don't. Because I was like, he would not strike me as a person who would have a passport.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
you don't have to have that.
let's
No.
check the next part of this statement. On the morning of 9/12, Alex was awake at 800 hours, so 8 a.m. Zulema needed to leave for work, and she was worried about him and asked him how he was feeling. He said he was fine and feeling better. Zulema left for work. Later in the day, Alex had a friend, somebody, give him a blessing over the phone. Now, I do believe it was Justin Lum. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Said that is known to have been Chad. Okay, I don't know if it is or not, but it would fit in that block. Chad Daybell, those letters would fit in that block, so it could have been. Give him a blessing over the phone. Somebody then texted Zulema and told her Alex was not doing well and she should leave work and go home. Presumably, that's the same person that gave him the blessing over the phone, and Chad would certainly fit in that block. But then again, so would Lori, so who knows? Um, let's assume it's Chad because I believe that's what we heard from Justin. Chad
Yeah.
texted Zulema and told her Alex was not doing well and she should leave work and go home. She called Alex and he was having a hard time talking to her. She told him she would drop off her client and come right home. She said she was in the area of Higley and Baseline, not far from home. She then called her son, who was at home with Alex, and she told him to go to her room, check on Alex. He stayed on the phone and checked on Alex. She could hear her son telling Alex to stay on the floor and try not to get up. Zulema told him to call 911. Now, that's different from Joseph's statement. Joseph says she called twice. She says she stayed on the phone. So, whatever. There's a little discrepancy. She arrived home and her son met her at the door and told her it was really bad. Zulema then ran upstairs and found Alex on the master bathroom floor. So now there's two people who have been in that bathroom with Alex at this point. So remember that. He was laying on his right side and his face was blue. He had lost control of, presumably, his bowels. She tried to get him on his back as her own son was relaying information to 911. Zulema got him on his back and began chest compressions. Paramedics arrived and he was eventually transported to the hospital. At the hospital, they had done everything they could to revive Alex and he was pronounced dead. So, a few little discrepancies between her story and Joseph's there.
Plus, we do have the benefit of the 911 call. We know she goes hysterical when she gets there.
Hmm.
But why didn't she call 911?
Right.
Instead of calling her son, why didn't she call 911?
Hmm. So, moving on, Zulema said she was never aware of Alex having any medical issues. He always seemed healthy. He did not consume alcohol or drugs. She did not know any medical history for Alex, and she did not know if anything about his family history. Alex was a truck driver who traveled a lot. He recently wanted to take some time off and moved to Idaho for a few months ago. He had a niece and some friends there. The day before Thanksgiving, Alex arrived at Zulema's house in Gilbert to spend the holidays. Zulema asked him to stay with her and not go back to Idaho. She convinced him he could stay with her and could get rid of his apartment in Idaho. That's also a contradiction to something we heard earlier about Alex deciding to move down there, not her convincing him to move down there. Okay, just a minor thing between her and Kara. He was thinking about going back to work for a former employer where he could work locally instead of driving so much around the country. Alex had not worked for a couple of months, but he had some money saved up. And a couple of weeks ago, they took a trip to Las Vegas. While they were there in Vegas, they just decided to get married. It was not planned, and she referred to it as a spur of the moment, and they eloped. So, interesting. What do you think of that?
I will never understand the elopement thing. There has got to be some matchmaker putting these people together because it just doesn't make sense. None of these quickie marriages make sense unless they're done for money, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense. Plus, I mean, we do still have him doing the stand up thing, admitting that he's gay, which really throws a monkey wrench in it. Why is he
Mm-hmm.
getting married?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And why are if you had listened to his stand up routine, would you have ever labeled him as very religious?
No, not at all.
Um,
But
or tased a guy or shot a guy? Like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a
Right. So
weird description.
the detective goes on to say that he clarified with Zulema that Alex had gone to Algodones, Mexico to get the prescriptions. She said he had gone there before prescriptions and told her about it, and she had him get her some medicine because it was cheaper. I'd like to know what that was just out of curiosity, but we don't
Yeah.
know. He clarified some time frames with Zulema for the events on 12/12. She said she left for work about 8:50 a.m. She texted Alex about 12:58 and asked him to make a holiday basket for her. So
That doesn't make sense.
that doesn't make any sense at all. She
If
knows
she
he's
is
sick.
begging him to go to the doctor, the
Yep.
emergency room, not just the doctor, the
Yep.
emergency room. Oh, will you get out and drive around and put stuff together for me? That makes zero sense.
Yep. So she says that she texted him, even though she allegedly called her son about the same time to go check on Alex. She says she texted him at 12:58 to go make a holiday basket for her, and Alex responded, "Sure." She texted him again at 15:02 to ask how he was doing, and he did not respond. She received a text from somebody stating that Alex was not doing well, so she called Alex at 15:09, and she then called her son at 15:15. Now, certainly they would have these records, so we'll know how much of that is true and what these texts were about. But if she's so worried about him, she would not be worried about making some holiday basket. That's just so weird to me.
Now, the interview that we have with Melanie and Ian, that, not Justin. Justin didn't do it. What's his name?
Ian? Oh, was it Nate?
Nate. Yeah, Nate. We, in that interview, Melanie says that she didn't talk to Alex like, what is it, a week before he died? Like the last conversation she had with him was
Mm-hmm.
like a week before he died. So she shouldn't be on that list of people who could have called him and said he was doing bad, unless she's
Right.
lying about that. I'm just trying to figure, we're trying to figure out who all these redacted names are.
Right.
Still leaves Melanie in there. I want to know when he told Melanie you don't want to know.
Yep. So the detective goes on to say that he asked Zulema if Alex had any visitors at her home. She said that his niece came for Thanksgiving with her new husband, and she identified the niece as Melanie, now we know as Pulowski. And Melanie lives in Idaho, and she said Melanie came to her house and spent time at her in-laws' house before driving back to Idaho. Whose in-laws? You talking Zulema's in-laws or Melanie's in-laws? That
But
would be
that's
Ian's
not what
parents.
happened, though. They met in Vegas.
Mhm.
So that
That's
story is, according to Melanie and Ian in that interview, they met in Vegas.
right.
Do you remember? She said she spent Thanksgiving with Ian's family,
Hmm.
not Zulema's. Is
Right.
Ian related to Zulema?
Well, that's probably what it's here when it says at her in-laws' house. That would probably mean Ian's parents before driving back to Idaho. So in the course of this whole holiday thing, we've got the marriages in Vegas. We've
Yeah.
got Melanie coming to the house to visit Alex. We have Alex moving here from Idaho, moving his stuff. I remember when the police were searching up in Rexburg, they said Alex's apartment was completely empty. So at that point, he had already moved all of his stuff down here. Presumably, that would fit the timeline. So the detective says that he asked Zulema about any siblings for Alex. She said that he had 6 siblings, but does not have much communication with them. She said she knows his sister Lori and his niece Melanie. She did not know where Lori lives. Come on. You know, I asked her if she had a phone number for Lori, and she said the last time she tried texting Lori, the number was disconnected. She had met Lori a few times when Lori lived locally, but she had not seen Lori since she moved a few months ago. She did not think Lori was married.
But
Who
didn't she
believes that?
say they went to the same church
Kara did.
earlier?
Zulema's
So
daughter
this
said that.
makes zero sense.
Right.
You know that he was in contact with, I mean, Adam was living with Lori down in Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before Charles was shot. So you know Alex is in contact with him and
Right.
his dad. I mean, this makes zero sense.
Yep. I
Zero
think
sense.
all of this right here is just a big old lie from
BS.
Zulema trying to distance herself from Lori and stuff. Why would she need to do that unless she knew something?
The same reason she asked if she was a suspect from her dead
Yep.
husband who
Yep.
died of natural causes.
Mm-hmm. All
Why
right,
would
so let
you
me.
say that? If she's doing CPR on the guy, like that makes zero sense. That's
Yep.
something's going on.
Right, so the rest part of this statement, as the detective continued to ask questions about Alex's family, Zulema said she would text somebody to ask him because he's the only one who knows more about that family than I do. She had asked someone for any contact numbers for Alex's family, and someone texted her back and told her that he did not have any numbers. She knew someone lived out of state, but she did not know where. Chances that's Chad? Possibly. Or it could be Adam. Although
Something.
I don't think, I mean, who knows? We don't know who that was, but she was trying to get numbers for the family from somebody. Clarifying with Zulema that some details about the day she told me she knew Alex had not been feeling well, even though he said he was. Alex usually makes the bed and cleans the house while she's at work.
Imagine that. He makes
Yeah.
a good housewife. Would have never imagined. He's been cleaning up Lori's messes for years.
Mm-hmm. She noticed when she got home nothing was done as normal. The bed was not made, he was not dressed, and nothing had been cleaned. Zulema's son-in-law, that must be from another marriage, arrived at the hospital, and I stepped out of the room to make a phone call. Zulema suddenly came down the hallway with Jose. I told her we were going to finish up our investigation at her house. Jose interjected and told me I could ask questions to their attorney. They said they were going back to the house. I concluded my conversation with Zulema. I photographed the body as I found it lying in a hospital bed with evidence of medical intervention. I did not observe any obvious trauma to the body. The lower extremities were covered in a blanket, and I observed splotchy discoloring around the upper chest and neck, purplish in color. Lividity was present on the sides of the abdomen and hands. That I found very striking.
That could be though where she was trying to do CPR.
Well,
If he had already
lividity is blood pooling as the body lays still in place after death.
well, don't
So,
you have that though when you do chest compressions and the person died? Didn't we have that on little Layla from Rosenbaum's?
I know. I think that's bruising and lividity are 2 really different things.
Okay, I don't know.
So, and they know that they found him laying on his side. So, how long was he laying on his side? Long enough for lividity to be present. That's kind
Well,
of
that
interesting.
doesn't make any sense. If the limo laid him flat on his back and started CPR, when was he
I
on his side?
know. And technically, he wasn't dead at that point because Joseph says that he was breathing or exhaling. So,
Why are they calling all the people to come to her house?
I
And why
don't
are the
know.
cops letting them in if they've declared it a crime scene?
Yep.
Do we have another set of stupid cops? I mean, really? Have they not bumbled enough crap?
Mm-hmm.
And why does she still live in the same daggone house? Wouldn't you move out like the next day?
Yep.
I can't believe she still lives there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So over here, the next page, all redacted, but it's interesting. It says the following introduction is to provide insight for Alexander Lamar Cox's involvement related to multiple investigations prior to, during, and after his death. I'd like to read that, but it is all redacted. So they are aware at the point of this filing, which was redacted, I don't have the date, that they were aware that he was involved in other stuff. Okay. But they're not going to let us see what that is. So, and right here, let's see if we can get some information from this paragraph. It says approximately 15:30 hours while meeting somebody regarding other related investigations. I learned Gilbert Police responded to somewhere after Joseph Lopez found his mother's boyfriend, Alex Cox, unresponsive on the master bathroom floor. Cox was something, and evidence of something and vomit were around his person. Gilbert Fire Department also responded. As a result of the involvement of other investigations, it was decided... Okay, here we go. As a result of Cox's involvement with other investigations, it was decided to continue his death investigation at the aforementioned address with a search warrant. So it seems that right there tells me once they discovered that that was Alex Cox, something clued them in to looking this up and saying, we better make this a crime scene. So interesting. That's what you were talking about earlier.
Yep. Something was off if they didn't know who he was, and they said whatever was found in the bathtub or on the floor made them suspicious. So lividity would mean that she wasn't really doing CPR, right?
Or
He
he
would
had
be
been
flat
there
on his back.
much longer and he wasn't actually alive, even though they had told the 911 dispatcher he was.
Yeah, they said he was still breathing at that point.
Right.
Wheezing, I think is what he says in the 911 call. But another thing to point out here is not only does she make the declaration or ask the statement, am I a suspect? All of her family members are calling her and saying, do not talk to the cops, get a lawyer. So what does everybody else know that we don't know?
Right.
I mean, I would understand if it was a family, especially a religious family, if people showed up because somebody died. Oh, are you okay? I'm going to bring you dinner. We're going to take care of you. We'll help you make funeral arrangements, blah, 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 blah. But it's a crime scene, and the police are letting random people in, and they are shutting her down from talking to the police. So not only does that tell you she knows something, it means people around her know something.
Yep.
So when's that going to come into the trial, and what do they know to tell her to shut up? It's weird, but I've said from the get-go when she didn't pop out and make statements as everybody else, I said she'll be the one that flips. And I bet she has immunity because nobody's interviewing her, and everybody else is trying to get their 5 minutes of fame.
Yep. Now the rest of the report has statements from the different officers and first responders, basically echoing everything that we've already read. But it does seem to highlight a few of the contradictions, such as Zulema saying she stayed on the phone with Joseph and Joseph saying she called twice. I don't see any mention in here of... Oh, here we go. I received the autopsy and toxicology report from Maricopa County office. I do have his autopsy report and toxicology report somewhere. It's posted up in our Discord server.
But I don't think there was any illegal stuff in it. Like
I don't think so. No,
Joseph
there wasn't.
Ryan's was. His was full of stuff.
Yeah.
I wish as this little mean diabetic in the corner, I always want to know what their sugar level was when they do this thing. I always want to know because that could always be part of it.
Yep. Now, even though this report here is redacted, I do have the complete medical examiner's report up in Discord. You can check it out there. Basically, they ruled his death natural from heart disease, pulmonary embolism, but what they don't talk about is what caused that. But they do say arterial sclerosis, which means that he did have plaque in the arteries and all that kind of stuff. So
imagine that, though. He's a truck driver. I mean, that's pretty notorious. People who aren't moving around very much and eating on the road, they go hand in hand.
Yep. So that's what we know. All right. Now, there's nothing else in this. The lab notes. This is the I do have this report unredacted somewhere. I just got to find it and get it for you. But it is up in Discord. That shows the Tox report and that kind of stuff.
Right.
That was ruled last summer. They released that, and it was ruled as natural causes. So that's all we know. Okay, all of this stuff, it's all redacted here in this filing. This is what I have. This talk screen right here. So I don't know why they redacted it here when they already released it this summer. So that's the report, all 59 pages from Phoenix, Arizona Police Department about the day they found Alex Cox dead. So what did we learn? We learned Zulema has some contradictory statements to her 2 children. That's interesting. Allegedly, Chad, I'm not going to say 100% because I don't see it in the police report, but allegedly, Chad called Alex that day to give him a blessing right before he died. That's curious.
That is so weird to me. Okay, if you didn't have the redacted part, like you couldn't try to make the name fit, who would you think would have called him? Like, if you heard somebody called him out of this group of bumbling idiots, who would you have thought called him?
I thought Melanie Gibb the first time I read through it.
I thought Jason Mao immediately.
Yep.
He seems like somebody or David Warwick, would both seem like higher up as the priestly people that would be giving a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did Chad call and ask Lori if he could first? I'm not really sure.
Right.
Maybe Lori said it and he just said, yeah, I agree with her. I don't know. It's just so weird.
Moira has a really great point in chat. She says, how incredibly odd is it that Zulema shows up just before paramedics could appear to be attempting to save his life and put on quite the act of sounding hysterical. And exactly. Moira, I agree with you. She knew he was sick. She was obviously very worried about him that day, but she texted him randomly to make a basket. That kind of smacks to me of Chad and the raccoon text. That was a cover your ass text, if I ever heard one. And she's there doing CPR, but yet she's hysterical. I mean, come on. What is it?
What if just the what if train? We do know that he found out the day before they were digging up Chad's wife. And then all hell breaks loose the next day.
Mm-hmm.
If she wanted to seem innocent, don't you? And I mean, I get what the comment is about, that she shows up before CPS. My brain's at. Before the ambulance. Wouldn't it have been what made her look a little more innocent if she had called the cops and said, my husband is really sick and I'm trying to get a hold of him and he's not responding. Please send an ambulance.
Yep.
Like to call herself?
Mm-hmm.
What if this is, nobody is calling to give him a blessing? What if Alex is completely freaking out because he thinks everything is unraveling and has written a note confessing, and this is a suicide that we haven't looked at?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, there's so many possibilities. This report does not nail it down.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. Even the MU report that I've looked at, it doesn't nail it down. It just does not. At this point, I'm almost thinking Julie Rowe and her invisible spirit poison energy weapons might be a thing.
Maybe. Go get your twirlers, I'm telling you.
Yep. So that's the report.
I'm so stuck on what they found in the bathtub. If she got there before the police and it's so incriminating, what did she not see? That's why I don't think it's probably a handwritten note, because she would have grabbed it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'd love to know what made them go, oh, wow, this is weird.
Yep. And I shaved my legs for this great name.
Yeah.
I love your new name. That's great. Says, there was no blessing call. I bet it was a call from Chad saying they dug up Tammy and you're in trouble now and Alex killed himself. That's as possible as anything else. It is absolutely as plausible as anything else that we've talked about.
Okay, now, remember, not as possible as like they went and got secret squid ink. And them for
that's
4 months.
The most plausible explanation, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I just want everyone to know this is speculation. We are just digging this apart and trying to see what we all get. So please remember, don't run with this as Awen said she knows blah blah blah. No, I'm saying we're parsing it out.
If anything's wrong, blame it on me.
We're just parsing through it and talking about our stuff. So that's what we know about the day that they found Alex. I think, remember, reading this now, knowing that Zulema has a use immunity agreement with the prosecution, kind of makes you think a bit.
Yeah, I don't
Right?
think Zulema killed him. I
No, I
don't
don't.
think because if they thought it was a crime scene and
Hmm.
it's as obvious as that, they would not have given her an immunity agreement. They would have arrested her and
Yep.
she'd be in jail with Orrin and Chad.
Yep. Okay. Before we move on to the next document, a couple of things. If you want to get your hands on this entire document, there is a link in the documents channel of Discord. And I think this one is actually linked in the description of the video, the East Idaho News link. You can just go grab the PDF, save it to your computer, and you've got it for yourself. You want to pour back through it and read all the stuff and see if you can guess what's under those black squares.
Oh, Joseph Ryan. This one's going to be good.
Yep, we're going to move on to Joseph. But to address a couple questions in chat, Salty says, when are you going to see me again? Soon. I mean, there's lots of videos of me on camera. You can see me. I'm not really hiding. I have some allergies going on and my eyes are puffy. And, my eyes are my biggest concern about my face because I don't like my puffy eye bags. So I'm not on camera
she's
today.
taken, so, she's married. She has kids. She's got baggage. She probably don't want it.
Yep. But yeah, so that's that. And also several people are asking how to support the channel. If you look in the description, there are links. I do have a Teespring account, so you can buy merch, which I think is fun. There's some ToxicBliss merch. There is some Mindful and Fit merch. There's all kinds of cool stuff up there on my Teespring account. There's also a Venmo link if you don't want to do super chats because YouTube does. Well, I'm not supposed to say that. But there's Venmo instead of super chat. There's all kinds of things you can do. I have a Patreon, channel memberships, all kinds of stuff. So knock your socks off with that.
If you want my
Now,
opinion, go Venmo or Patreon. She gets more money that way.
Patreon is fun because we do a lot of secret squirrel stuff in Patreon.
Yep.
All right, next, we do have another big document. Thankfully, just for time reasons, many of these pages are also completely redacted. But this one kind of threw me for a loop. We just heard the other day that the police department who was looking into Joseph Ryan's death came out and said, you know what? Our investigation is done. We reviewed it, and we still think he died of natural causes. And I'm like, all right. And I was like, well, I kind of was leaning that way a little bit, given the state of his apartment and a bunch of other things. I thought maybe Joseph's death really was natural causes until I read this.
Yeah, this makes it look so much worse.
Yep. So we're going to talk about this. Years ago, Alex Cox attacked Joseph Ryan with a taser. And he did admit it. He went to court. He was sentenced. He spent 90 days in jail and had a $5,000 fine later on. But we've never really heard the details of that until now. So let's go through it and talk about that.
Not only did he admit it, he has a stand-up comedy routine about it.
Yeah, I have to be a little careful with this document because a lot of phone numbers and stuff are not redacted from this. So I don't want to put them on the screen. But let's start here. All right, I'm going to read through this quickly, and then we could talk about what it says. Dispatch to a call for service for disturbance with violence at the Kids Exchange at Collinfield and Peyton Gin in the parking lot. The call stated that a man was being tased. When I arrived on scene, I met with the victim, who was identified as the following: Joseph Ryan. Ryan was shaking and visibly scared. He said that he was just tased and that he knew who did it. He advised that he was at the location earlier today to have his first supervised visit with his daughter in about a year. And we know that was Tylee Ryan. When Ryan was finished with his visit, he walked outside to his vehicle and was loading items into the trunk. And he said that a man was sitting near the car at a picnic table. The man approached him and said, "We need to talk." Ryan asked him who he was because he didn't recognize him. And the male said, "You know who I am." Ryan then said Alex and realized that it was his ex-wife's brother, who Ryan identified as Alex Cox. Cox said, "We need to talk." Ryan told him that he had nothing to talk about, and then turned to a lady who was getting into her vehicle in the parking lot to ask her to be a witness to Alex being there and confronting him because of all the trouble he has had with his ex in the past. That was smart. The witness was identified as Carrie Pernice. Carrie said that she would be a witness. Immediately after that, Cox said, "You know what you did," and pulled a taser from his pocket, stating, "This is for my nephew," and then tased him in the back. Ryan said that he didn't know what he was hit with at first and began running across the parking lot to get away from him. Cox ran after him and stunned him in the back, okay, and drive-stunned him in the back, whatever that means, and knocked him down a second time. Ryan got up and started running toward the building when another witness came walking out. Ryan yelled to the man to call 911. Ryan said once Cox saw the witness, he stopped chasing him and started calmly walking away and then down the street, where he got into a silver Pontiac Grand Prix and left the scene. All right. What do you think of that? We hadn't heard any of that before.
Number one, the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is he says, "This is for what you did to my nephew."
Right.
Why is this not about this is what you did for my niece?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he bringing Colby into it, not Tylee?
Right.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he
Number
had to be
two,
talking about Colby because JJ at
hasn't
that
been
point,
in the picture yet.
right.
Why? Why Colby? Why not Tylee?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's also weird because you're going to read more of this document, and it, even though both statements are from Joseph Ryan, there's two different stories.
Right.
That's weird.
All right. So the next
And
page.
we're making the point that he's leaving supervised visitation.
Right. This was now we heard about this from his lawyer Taniguchi, who
Yeah.
had done an interview. That was Joseph Ryan's lawyer around this time, and this was the first time that Joseph was going to this children's exchange place where they host these meetings where there have to be a safe exchange of the children and back and forth. And this was his first meeting with Tylee. All right. So the next page says. That the medics came to the scene to evaluate Joseph, and he was not transported. He had 2 small holes in the back of his shirt from the taser and from falling onto the pavement when he was pushed down and tased again. More redactions. I took some digital photographs of his injuries and turned the media card to the substation. Ryan also had a complaint of pain from being tasered. He said that he and his ex-wife have been divorced since 2005 and that they had joint custody. About a year later, his ex, who was identified as Lori Vallow, blah, big redacted paragraph. Ryan advised that he is afraid of what they may do to his house or to him again. He said the entire family has been causing him problems and that his ex-wife has stated that she would rather have death than for him to have another visit with his daughter. Ryan is afraid that that could mean anything, killing herself and her daughter or him.
Yeah.
Now this was what, 2007?
Yeah.
So in 2007, we have the first statement from one of Lori's ex-spouses saying, I think she might kill our daughter.
But that statement was not made to him. That statement was made to a child psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's not even him making it,
Right.
being hyperbolic. She actually said that, and they actually gave her custody,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy.
And here we are 14 years later now, dealing with the fact that Tylee was actually murdered, presumably by her own mother and friends. So that makes me so crazy with anger that I can't believe it.
So
Officials, they never take this stuff seriously.
No, they don't. No, they don't. And it's crazy because they kept not taking it seriously, even as crazy as Lori got. Like it kept getting worse, and they kept letting her go with it because she was pretty and a woman, But the thing, like, I guess I'm not an expert. I was going to say my expertise. I'm not an expert. I've had my own dealings with CPS. This is a supervised visit. If you don't know anything about how CPS works and how they do supervised visits, it is a blind drop-off. They do not want you to be in contact with your ex, which means Lori or whoever had Tylee comes first and drops her off. And they make sure that Lori is gone or whoever dropped off Tylee. Then he's allowed to come. And then when all is said and done, they have whoever is picking up the child, take the child, leave. They're supposed to make sure that they're gone at least 15 minutes before the supervised parent is allowed to leave. I've never seen a supervised visit where there wasn't a security guard in the building because this is a federal program. This is CPS. Why are they having to call 911?
Right.
Why was somebody in the building not doing this? And then later they say that Tylee witnessed it, which is all kinds of wrong.
Right.
She
Don't
should
jump
not have
ahead.
been there.
You're getting too far ahead. You're going to spoilers.
Right.
Spoiler. But
This
what
is
we have
crazy,
right here, The point that this paragraph that I just read made to me is that we have two of Lori's ex-spouses with the same story. She's crazy. She's going to kill herself or her kids or me or something. Help. Nobody got help, and they're both dead. So just putting that out there. Let's move on. More redacted stuff. More redactive stuff. I'm going to go quickly past anything identifying, so that shouldn't be on the screen. All right, here we go. This is an investigator's report. Okay. I'm not going to read through all of this, but part of it, this is a statement from the witness, Carrie. Now, Carrie was in a car nearby to Joseph, and when Alex approached Joseph, he said to her, "Hey, will you be a witness for this?" That was smart, and this is what she had to say. Over the phone, she explained that she was at the kids' exchange as a client. She was leaving with her son the same time as Joseph. She walked out to their cars. She saw the suspect, Alex, sitting at a picnic bench. He approached Alex, and she was able to hear Alex speak to Joseph. She was putting her son, 1.5 years old, into her car when she heard Alex identify himself by name to Joseph, as well as ask if Joseph remembered him. Joseph asked to be left alone, and Alex then stepped very close to Joseph. Joseph backed off to leave. Alex then pulled out a taser and tasered Joseph. Joseph fell to the ground. She locked herself in the car and called 911, and she last saw Joseph as he ran off. Okay, so that's what she saw, right? And that was the woman standing next to him. There was another witness, Francis, and by phone, he also said that he did see the victim get tased. He ran after the suspect and saw him get into a gray-colored new model Pontiac. He's been in the car business for 15 years. He spoke to him a second time by phone. He did report that it was a stun gun type of taser, a handheld, not the type that shoots darts. Okay, that we didn't know before. He could not tell for sure if the vehicle had out-of-state plates or not. He's going to work on a written statement before we meet. All right, so those are the two witnesses that spoke with law enforcement. That's what they have to say.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, they sound the same.
Pretty straightforward. Yep. Now, I want to get to Joseph's statement because that was kind of interesting.
Other than it was stupid for him to ask her to be a witness if she has a 1-year-old little boy. And he thought he was going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Seems like he would have just said, call the police or go back inside. One or the other.
On the screen now, you see a written statement by one of the witnesses, which pretty much the same thing they said before. That was Carrie's statement. These are some photographs. This was a photo lineup that they showed to the witness. One of these is Alex. They're so bad quality that even though I did turn them around and try to adjust the contrast, you can't tell. I can't see anything. One of them identified him as number 3, but I can't tell. To me, that could be anybody. So they're just really bad quality. Yeah, right there. That's where they identified Alex as photo number 3. Does that look like Alex? I can't tell. I really can't.
Yeah, but I can't see any of them, so they
Yeah,
shouldn't ask me to do a lineup. I'm telling you. I'll be useless.
Yep. And there's the second statement from Francis, his witness statement. These are really, there. Make of that what you will. I have no idea what that page is supposed to say. I think these are actually the medical records after Joseph and his complaints from being tased. So those are all.
Why in the world didn't they take him to the hospital? Like, that beats all I ever achieved. That's crazy to me.
Yep. What is this? Okay. Let's read through this part. All right, it says at 11:05, the garage door made a loud snap as if something was caught in the tracks. Departed the Trailcrest Circle home and proceeded toward Trail West. Noticed a silver car with headlights on 3 houses down. As I passed the car, the driver shielded his face as if pulling a ball cap down. As I drove past the car pulled out going opposite way in Trailcrest Circle, it seemed suspicious to me, and I turned around to ask neighbor Craig to watch my house as I went to visit my daughter. Right. Note, after the assault, it later became clear that Alex Cox was in a silver Pontiac Grand Prix and possibly intended to interfere or block me from arriving for visitation with Tylee. This would indicate that I violated the court order, and my ex-wife could immediately file for motion to suspend visitation. So, that's a good point.
But which one of those idiots thought of that? I mean, really. It makes them sound like they know something about criminal law, and we can tell by the way these murders are carried out. They did not.
Right.
So that had to have come from a lawyer. It had to have.
Yeah. He then proceeded to High Meadow Drive, opposite of the exit. That was possibly an unintended yet invasive move to lose Alex, who was proceeded on the normal direction, not realizing my change in direction and timing. So even before he gets there, Joseph is concerned that he's being followed, and maybe it's Alex, but he's trying to lose him, right,
But
and go a
how would
different
he?
way.
But that doesn't ring true with his statement when he says he doesn't recognize Alex.
Right.
When he says, "Hey, do you remember me?" If he was already trying to lose him,
Mm-hmm.
that contradicts that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. So something there's a little fishy. But
Yeah.
he says he arrived at the Collinfield Drive for the early arrival for visitation. I parked at the back of the lot, right to the next of a grass subdivider near a tree with a picnic bench. Left side of grass divider was my goodness, SUV of future witness who was in her vehicle with the baby in the back seat. At 12:15, somebody was brought into the meeting room. I assume Tylee. 15 minutes late. Not sure if Lori thought I would be there. When confirmed I was there, had to show up. Somebody did not appear to be too upset for the first visit in over a year. Great visit noted by supervisor. Tylee leaves the room with the supervisor, and all visiting parents must wait 15 minutes for the children to clear the premises so no interaction occurs between parents
Yep.
child visit, just like you said earlier. During the 15-minute wait, I fortunately have a conversation with both future witnesses. 14:15, he leaves the kids' exchange room and walks to the parking lot after signing out. The female witness signs out before me, so 2 or 3 minutes ahead and already out in the parking lot. Alex Cox rises from the picnic table under the tree and approaches me wearing a dark ball cap, sunglasses, dark t-shirt, dark vest, and dark pants. I initially did not recognize Alex as he approached me. That right there, like you said, that's a little... That if you thought Alex was following him, then why would he not have recognized him, especially wearing the ball cap that he saw in the car?
Yep.
So
And
that's
from all we know, as much as Alex has been involved with Lori, really, he didn't recognize him.
mhm,
Like, really, that doesn't make any sense. The other thing that doesn't make that stuck out to that is Lori showed up 15 minutes late. So why wasn't she in contempt of a court order?
right.
If he would have been held to that, why was she allowed to be 15
Mhm,
minutes late? I mean, that's just another one of those, oh, she's blonde and pretty. So
mhm,
you can
yeah.
get away with murder, quite literally. It's
So
crazy.
Joseph says that the encounter went like this. Alex said, "Do you remember me?" Joseph said, "No, who are you?" Alex said, "You don't remember me? I'm Alex." Joe said, "What do you want?" Alex said, "We need to talk," as he started to approach me. And Joseph says to the witness, Carrie, "Can you be a witness?" And Carrie said, "Yes, what's wrong?" And Joe said, "Alex Cox is my ex-wife's brother, Alex Cox." Alex said, "We're going to talk right now." Joe said, "We have nothing to talk about." And Alex said, "Yes, we do. This is for what you did to my nephew." At this point, Alex reaches either into his vest or his pants, a diagonal type movement with his right hand, and pulls what I thought to be a gun. Alex then lunged towards me with what is now a taser and tries to push it into my chest area, but the witness said he hit him in the back. So that's a discrepancy too.
Why didn't Joe get in the car instead of having, 6, 7, 8 lines of dialogue?
Right.
This is like the really bad superhero movie where the bad guy gets a monologue for 20 minutes. Get in the dang car and leave.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Yeah.
Go to the police station. Just leave. Nothing good is going to come out of this.
Now, this part, I don't understand the redactions here, why these would be redacted. Just before the taser, something happened. From the initial shock, I raised my arms from the something. As I started to run away, Alex then had a taser second something with a forceful push that sent me to the asphalt face first. Before hitting the asphalt, I broke my fall with something. Why would you redact that? I broke my fall with what? Why? I don't get it. And then rolled to my left to avoid Alex jumping on me as I was on the ground. As I rolled to the left, something else happened. After rolling to the left, I was able to get up and ran diagonally across the parking lot to the main entrance of the lot with Alex only steps behind me. As we ran, I am nearly certain he was saying, "I am going to kill you." Right there. I am nearly certain saying he
That
was
doesn't
saying.
make sense.
That
Yeah.
doesn't
All
sit
I
right.
got out of that is Alex is a bad shot.
Yeah.
Kind of like all the other people that didn't get shot the first time.
Mhm.
Alex is a bad shot.
Yep. Now, it's possible Alex was saying that, but I mean, the fact that he was attacking him with a taser multiple times, that could tell you right there he's trying to kill you. So, we'll run
With a
with that for
witness
now.
standing there, no less.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
mean, this guy is never been accused of being smart. I can probably lay money on that.
Right. So Joseph says, as we ran toward the main entrance, the second witness, and this was Francis, the male, was leaving the building. I yelled from 40 to 50 feet away to call 911, call 911. I said, this is Alex Cox, and he's trying to kill me. The second witness immediately called 911, and Alex stopped his pursuit from 20 feet from me and the witness. Alex realized the witness had 911 on the phone within seconds. First, he has no idea what's going on in Alex's mind. You can't speak to that. That wouldn't even be allowed in a court of law. But whatever. That's what he said. If 911 has the recording, my voice should be in the background with a positive ID of Alex Cox. Witness was on the phone as Alex calmly walked away down Collinfield Drive. The witness and I yelled for Alex to come back. Come back. You didn't finish trying to kill me. Alex just flipped the bird back towards us and we walked forward. Once the witness and I started to pursue Alex down Collinfield Drive, that they shouldn't have done that. To get an idea in his car. Alex then ran and turned right onto Bob White Drive. His car, believed to be a silver Pontiac Grand Prix, was parked approximately 3 houses down on the right-hand side of the street. Alex then ran to his car, immediately sped away down Blue Quail Drive. It was not clear if anyone else was in the car waiting for Alex. What do you think of that? That raises some issues for me.
Well, the whole story kind of changes. Like, all the details change. I really want to know why, at a supervised visit, there is not security brought in.
Right.
Like, that was in the building. They are ready for this. They are used to domestic violence, crazy ex-husbands, ex-wives. They're used to it. And there's children all over the place. There is security in the building. Why are we waiting on cops to show up? Why is somebody not running in the building and getting security? This is crazy to me.
Yeah.
This is absolutely crazy to me.
Now,
it makes zero sense. It makes 0 sense.
There's one more paragraph in this report that... Where'd it go? Where was the paragraph? All this redacted stuff.
Maybe that's what was in the bathtub. Maybe Alex had kept his little taser. Maybe he tased himself in the bathroom. Maybe they thought that would take him out.
I have
he
this over
probably
in
missed
documents.
himself too by his aim. I don't know.
Here
Sorry,
we go. I'm just going to share this just from my browser because I don't want to go back to the whole document to look for it. But I have it here. All right, this. I don't know if you can read that. This says, I was called by the victim in this case on September 6th. All right, now this is a statement from, I believe, one of the investigators. His daughter had reported, Tylee had reported seeing him fall to the ground at the time of the incident. If she saw the incident, he thinks that it means that his ex-wife, Lori, was there to see the incident as well. When his daughter told him about seeing the incident, it was witnessed by his lawyer, Taniguchi, and Leslie Smith. So, to me, that's a big problem because that means...
I don't think it's true. I don't. Because they're supposed to make sure the kids have left the premises before the other party leaves. So unless she came back...
Would you put it past her to wait around the corner knowing he's going to come out in 15 minutes?
Of all the witnesses, who would not have seen another child? Like, they would have said... this woman threw her kid in her car even though she was being a witness for Joseph. Why is nobody else mentioned they saw a kid?
Right, but why would Tylee
have been?
Because this says that Tylee said that to Joseph in front of his lawyer and Leslie Smith, presumably a caseworker.
What else did Lori tell Tylee to say in front of investigators and child psychologists?
Right, but I don't think it would help Lori's case at all for Tylee to have said that.
She's probably just trying to hurt him. She does a whole lot of crap. This woman flat out told a child psychologist, I will die before I let her go see her father again. She's not smart. She's not.
In this
case... I just think it's weird that nobody else saw her.
In this situation, I would not put it past Lori to have left the building, waited a few minutes around a corner, and then gone back because she knew Alex was going to be there. She had to have known that Alex would be there because she was the only other person who knew that Joseph would be in that parking lot that day. So she had to have told Alex. So she was probably either in Alex's car, which then they may not have seen it, or she was just waiting around the building and came out to see Alex go after Joseph. And because she's an idiot, she had Tylee with her, who witnessed it. I tend to believe that this is true. And Tylee did say that to Joseph in front of the lawyer, because Lori would do that. She would put her daughter through something that traumatic as seeing her dad get tased and fall to the ground.
Yep.
You know?
So I want to see the security camera.
Yeah, if there was one back then.
This is a CPS. There is security cameras everywhere. They probably are in the bathroom at that place. I guarantee you this is on tape somewhere. Guarantee
Yeah.
you. And
I
it's
would
just
hope
not
it
out
would
yet.
be, but it's not part of this report, unfortunately. But there you go. That is what we know
Yeah.
of
That's
the
crazy.
day that Alex attacked Joseph with a taser. Now, this is why I really have a hard time totally accepting that Joseph's death was natural causes. I have a hard
No.
time with that. Although they did give him years and years of ridiculous amounts of stress. Taniguchi talks about that in his interview, how Joseph was in a downward spiral because they had drained every penny he had. He was living rough, and it was just, he had a bad time, and he had turned to alcohol. So yeah, all of that could have contributed to something like a heart attack or whatever they think he had. It's possible,
I
but
still think the crime scene photos, there are a few things that scream there was more than one person here. The multiple plates. I mean, I'm still fuzzy on the window situation. I know that they didn't go out the front door,
right,
but from what I understand, the maintenance guy said the window was open, but the screen was still in it.
right,
And I mean, that's easily you can do. You can fix that. I mean, that's not a big deal.
right.
So there's still in the back of my head I think somebody was there. I do.
Mm, yeah,
The two plates thing gets me. To have a clean house and then have the two plates stacked on. I mean, why would you have two plates?
yeah.
Why is the medicine spilled out? That place is relatively tidy, except for his office.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. Why would you spill your medicine and
Yeah.
just leave it? That doesn't.
But as much as we may find Joseph's death very suspicious, especially given light of their custody issues and the tasering from Alex, there is just no evidence that
No,
they can find
no.
to show anything. There's nothing in the autopsy or tox screen. They didn't. I don't know if they checked. I would hope they checked for fingerprints and stuff around his apartment. I would hope so, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they just assumed it was a guy who just died.
Unless they
You
know
know,
security came in.
right? But it's too late to go
Yeah,
back now to get any of
right.
that stuff.
They'll never be
So,
able. Even if they had a
yep.
handful of things, it would be circumstantial at best. They would never
Right. And we
corner
did
them.
know that they said that they were going to look for digital evidence, like any text messages or anything like that, but clearly they found nothing. So it's possible we may never get any more information on Joseph Ryan's death, and we're just going to have to accept that and move on, which is hard. I don't think that the prosecution is going to be able to bring this in on the trial, even if there's murder charges for Chad and Lori. I don't think he's going to be able to say, "Hey,
Oh, I don't
these
either.
her other ex-husbands are dead. Look at this." That would be highly prejudicial to the jury. So I don't think we're going to hear much more about it, which is really
I'm,
sad.
to be honest, I'm going to be surprised if they loop, depending on whatever it was that triggered where he died to be labeled as a crime scene immediately. I
Alex, you
bet
mean?
you, yeah, with Alex.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know
Hmm.
what I said. I don't think they're going to be able to hang him on Chad and Lori either. I
Right.
don't. I bet you they don't.
Yep. I do think that Alex's death will be brought into the case against Chad and Lori because Alex is linked in the conspiracy to murder the children and the conspiracy to bury the evidence, which we know that they're facing right now.
Yeah.
So I could see that as opening the door to bringing all of this stuff about Alex into that case, in which case we may hear what they found on the floor. We would have to
Yeah.
be able to see the search warrant and what they were looking for, what they took, and what probable cause they had to get it.
Well, we'll have to hear from Zalima if she got an immunity agreement. That
Yes, we
means she's
will.
testifying to something, so we'll
Yes,
know
she will.
what
Yep.
kind of what happened. But I don't think they're going to charge Lori or Chad with killing Alex.
No, I don't think so. Remember, Chad
Yeah.
and Lori were in Hawaii at the time.
Yep.
of
And
his
didn't
death.
come back for the funeral, by the way,
Right. Yep.
because that's her favorite sibling,
Mhm.
and they're all about family, and yeah.
But Zulema might know what happened. She just
Yeah.
might know. So we're
But
gonna
I
have to
think
find out.
whenever they released the tox report for Joseph Ryan, I was kind of surprised they even agreed to relook at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they released Alex's, I kind of thought, oh, there's no charges coming for that either. Because
Yep.
they're still holding both of the kids and they're holding Chad's wife.
Yep.
There's a reason they have not released those. And I think that's because the charges are coming. Well, Rob Wood said charges are coming, at least about the kids. I don't know
Right.
about Tammy.
Now, all right, first a question in chat. Andrea asked if I can elaborate on the immunity agreement. All we know is
Not a
that
ton.
Garrett Smith accidentally let slip during the motion to disqualify the prosecutor that Zulema had a use immunity agreement. Right now, what that means is Zulema has given information to the prosecution that could be inculpatory for herself. So, in exchange for giving that information, she is immune from prosecution. But the information had to be good enough for the state to get it and give her that immunity. So, we have no idea what that information is. We will hear about it when it goes to trial, but she has an immunity agreement. So she knows something worthwhile to the state that could incriminate herself. That's all we know. And we can speculate what that is all day long, but we won't know till we hear it in the trial.
And keep your fingers crossed that she lies on the stand, because if she does that, her immunity agreement goes down the drain.
That is a very good point.
Which is what we had hoped would happen in Patrick Frazie's case with Crystal Kenny.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Green Eggs and Ham mentions there's no way to investigate because he was cremated. They did take deep tissue samples from both Joseph and Alex before they were cremated. And they still have those samples. So I believe Joseph's was retested or something this summer. I'm not sure. They did release a lot of information about Joseph's tox screen and stuff this summer. But they do have those samples still. So,
Yep.
And as far as Tammy's autopsy, we have a hearing coming up on February 17th, a motion to compel hearing. Now, I am totally speculating and going out on a limb here, but I believe that this is the defense pushing for a motion to compel the state to release Tammy's autopsy report. They keep asking for that. Mark Means has filed several filings where he specifically asks for Tammy's autopsy report from the prosecution.
So it's just Mark Means, not Pryor?
We don't
think
know.
it would be Pryor.
We do not know.
Yeah.
All we have is the date. We in the court papers, there's the date scheduling the hearing, but they don't show us the actual motion to compel. So I don't know.
If you don't want your client to look like she killed her new husband's first wife, I would not be asking for evidence in a autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
That is not that I've ever accused Mark Means of being smart either, but
I can't see a relevancy for Tammy's autopsy in the current charges.
Right.
All they're
if she
being
doesn't
charged
have
right
nothing
now.
to do with it, don't ask for it.
Right. Yep. So I don't think the state would have to turn that over unless the state plans on introducing that as part of these charges. But I don't see how that's relevant at all. But there's a lot we don't know, so we're gonna watch. Could her immunity be just for the Lori Chad current case? And then if there's another crime that, yes, Hot Scorpio, she can have immunity for certain charges, I think. I don't think she has blanket immunity for anything else that ever comes up. So, yeah. But Andrea, as far as Tammy's, I don't think Tammy's death is relevant only to the current charges, just the charges that are against them now, which are the 4 conspiracy charges. They each have 2. For conspiracy to conceal or destroy or alter evidence, meaning the children's bodies.
Right.
All right. And Chad has 2 other charges of actually destroying, altering, and concealing the children's bodies. But those are the only charges that we're dealing with right now. Lori has a couple misdemeanors out of Madison County, whatever, that's different. But we're not dealing with the murder charges yet. So what would Tammy's death have to do with the conspiracy to conceal or destroy evidence regarding JJ and Tylee? Not much, as far as I can see. So unless the state is going to introduce that in this case, they do not have to turn that over to the defense if it's not going to be part of the case. But that's what I think the motion to compel is going to be about. But we'll watch it live and we'll get to find out. It could be something totally different. It could be motion to compel a witness. I'm just guessing it's a discovery issue because they've been kind of going back and forth on that for a while.
And it really begs to point out, Melanie Gibb doesn't have an immunity agreement.
No, she does not.
And of all the things we know she knows about, the fact that they're giving Zulema one, what does she know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big deal because Melanie Gibb's been flapping her trap on every show she can, to
Yep.
talk about how innocent she is.
Well, here's the deal about that. Zulema, in her statement in this document that we just read, she says that she convinced Alex to stay with her and leave Idaho. Maybe Zulema was not such a great fan of Lori. Maybe she knew something and she wanted Alex there with her so he'd be safe. And now she's willing to talk. Where Melanie Gibb is on the other side of that coin. Melanie Gibb was in the house with Lori the night that JJ died. She was there, you know? So it makes me see the two of them in a little bit different light. Maybe Zulema is not the monster that a lot of people have made her out to be. Maybe she is cooperating. Maybe she tried to get Alex away from them and it all just went badly,
Yep. But what I want to know from her is who set up these marriages. This was not something that happened organically. Who set them up?
Mm-hmm.
And why the quickie marriages? Women do not choose to share their wedding day with another woman, especially one that they don't know. Like, why would she want to get
Right.
married at the same time as Melanie? That makes zero sense whatsoever. And then
Yep.
her kids don't even know she's married.
Mm-hmm. And Feeding It and Sarah have really good points. I try to play devil's advocate a lot, but they're both saying maybe Alex's death was part of the plan to tie up the loose ends. Absolutely. And Sarah says, but why does she need immunity? Exactly. She wouldn't have needed immunity if she didn't do anything wrong. So you're right. So Zulema did something along the lines
Who
where she could
knows?
be in trouble
Maybe she
herself.
was trying to get Alex to go do that basket so he'd leave the house, and maybe, something else was planned for that day.
Right.
You never know,
Yeah.
because they're in Arizona with certain people.
Mm-hmm.
But,
And Sam,
I kind of think Zulema obviously has a thing for men. I mean, her daughter's talking about there's been a lot of men move in. Maybe she sees Lori as the same kind of person and doesn't want to be that close.
yep.
You never know.
Yep. And Sam Costa says Melanie Gibb is like soggy pasta. She flips and
Oh,
flops wherever there's more sauce. And y'all know what I think of Melanie Gibb. I don't want to start ranting because I could go on for hours about Melanie
no.
Gibb.
Yeah.
But so that's what we have as far as the Vallow case right now. We have those two
Vallows.
documents. You can grab the whole PDFs if you want. They're posted in Discord. The next hearing so far is on February 17th. That is going to be over Zoom, so I should be able to broadcast it to you live. So mark your calendars for that. But
Zoom hearings. I'm so sick of these.
yeah, that's an issue that we're going to talk about. We're actually going to do a separate live stream really soon talking about the effect of the pandemic on the court cases and the issues that it's creating, because it
Yep.
is creating a lot of problems, and I think we're going to see this litigated into the next decade about all
Yep.
of these cases. So we'll have to talk about that. But we did want to talk about the Orrin and Orson West case. So, Jess, do you want to give us a breakdown of what's going on in that case? I'm not going to be formally covering the case, but it's a big deal that all of us are watching right now. So let's just get everyone up to speed on what's happening with Orrin and
So
Orson.
some of you guys know, like, I've had my dealings with CPS and foster care and adoptive care and the whole shebang. So child cases are kind of like my thing. I dig into them. This is so sad. So these adoptive parents have 6 children. 2 are biological, 2 are foster, and 2 are adopted from the foster care system, which are 3 and 4-year-old Orson and Orwin, which are the 2 missing kids. These parents on December 21st, about 5 o'clock ish, called the police and said they were in the backyard. The wife was inside wrapping Christmas presents. The other kids are with grandma in another city, but these 2 kids are at home, and she decided that they should go outside while she wrapped presents while it's cold. And the husband is picking up firewood or whatever from the surrounding thing. What kind of firewood he's getting, I don't know. They live out in the middle of the desert. There are no trees. I do not know. So he reports them missing. Basically, there's been footage released from the neighbor that shows the entire house. It shows the backyard. You can kind of see him between the slats of the fenced in property. So you see him picking up stuff. You don't see the kids. You do see the dog running around in the yard. It shows him not being alarmed whatsoever, casually walking into the house, casually getting in his van, and 6 minutes, less than 6 minutes, drives around his block in only one direction with the windows up and comes back, stands under a tree, and supposedly calls 911. The mother never comes outside. He doesn't go back in the house when he gets out of the van to ask the mother if they have come back. He completely didn't look the whole left-hand side of the house. There's a huge, there's houses, there's open field. He didn't even walk over there to see if the kids were there. It's very, very strange. So the next day they give a very odd interview. They don't say the kid's name. They describe them in negative terms. It's really a suspicious thing. If you haven't seen the videos, go look for it. There's only been one. They've refused to be interviewed again. They have not made a plea for somebody who has these kids or seen these kids to come forward. There's a $100,000 reward. Basically, people don't think those kids were ever in that house, and they moved in that house 3 months ago. It's been turned upside down by different dog teams, cadaver dogs, bloodhounds, and what is the other, trauma dogs? Is that what the other one was? I don't know.
And the yard was
kids
set up too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, people made a big deal about it. Apparently, this house used to be a grow house. I mean, I know pot's legal in California, but you still have to have permits and stuff to grow. So it looks like what they dug up has more to do with maybe drug activity than looking for kids, because it's not tarped out, it's not covered, they're not digging by hand, they are definitely not looking for bodies the way that they, like Dremel dug up these really perfect circles. I think there's 6. So it's really, really suspicious. And there is 8 million ways I think that CPS, this case is going to come back to bite them in the tail because they've dropped the ball again.
Let me ask you about the CPS aspect, because this is something that you're familiar with. One thing that we've talked about is the fact that nobody really believes that these kids ever made it from their old apartment into the California City home.
Yep.
Right? They've just been missing for much longer than December 21st.
Right.
And you and I have speculated a lot about what could have sparked this off. What could have caused the parents to feel the need to make a statement, oh, the kids are missing, let's just do this. Right. What do you think happened there in regards to CPS?
Number one, that should not even be a question at this point. There should not be a foster parent where they are questioning whether or not children have been in the house for 3 months. CPS has to lay eyes on these kids. They still have foster parents. They are still fostering children. There should have been checks. A CPS social worker would have had to have come to the house and approved it to move the foster kids, especially from another city, another county. I think it's multiple counties at this point. But like you said, why December 21st? Why would they now say, okay, now it's time to pull the plug? Because they obviously did not rehearse it very well. They came off terribly on camera. I think either it is a CPS check, or it's almost Christmas and family is coming in and people are going to be like, you're missing 2 kids.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely speaks to me like something sparked the parents to say, oh no, we have to cover up the fact that the kids are not here anymore, because either CPS found out we moved and now they need a home visit, or there's a doctor who wants an appointment with them or something. Somebody's asking about the kids, so we need a cover story about where they are, because their story does not add up at all. There's no chalk drawings out back. There was nothing. You can see their entire yard, front and back, and this whole side of the house. Nobody walked in that backyard and took the kids. They didn't walk off and go across the street. You would see it on that video. There's nothing. So I don't think those kids were ever there. And it's terrifying because we don't know where they could be.
No, like just looking over the comments to clarify, I'm not saying that they should have another interview. Like, I don't. If that's the way that the biological parents showed up to the media interview, completely threw them off. I do not think they should do another interview. This is the first case that I've ever looked at where I think legitimately these kids could have been trafficked, which is so weird.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
We have learned from previous cases, like the Heidi Broussard case, where we jumped on the father right away. I was very guilty of that. I thought he was very sketchy from day one. This is a little different because we do have things like video of the entire backyard. Nobody snuck through the back gate and grabbed the kids and ran off with them. It would be on that video. You can see the dog walking across the yard. You would certainly see an adult come in and grab two kids and walk out the gate. So we know that those kids were not on that back porch and they did not disappear when the father says they did. That is a huge problem. Absolutely.
If that's really like devil's advocate, if these adoptive parents are innocent, if they legitimately thought the kids wandered off, why did he not look on the other side of the property?
Yep. All he had to do is peek over the fence. He didn't even do that.
Why did they not tear the house up? Why did they not look under the van? Like, there are so many cases of kids go missing and they have gone and gotten in a car, you
Mm-hmm.
know? If you legitimately think you're looking for children who have wandered off, you roll down your windows and you're screaming their name.
Yep.
And when you get you're not out there for 6 minutes, and you sure as heck as a mother are not staying inside the house.
Yep.
You are beating the dad to death while you're running around like a turkey with its head cut off, screaming. The neighbors should have known there were missing kids by the level of hysterics of the parents,
Yep.
in my opinion. And that didn't happen. And when he came back and called the police, why wouldn't you go in the house and say, did they come back?
Yep.
The
Yeah,
fact that he didn't check in makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
there's a lot of speculation running rampant about this case. And although I'm trying to avoid most of that,
Yeah.
we don't have much to go on. All right. So I'm not going to talk about so and so said the parents went here or so and so had took two children. We don't know any of that for sure. A lot of that is rumor. What we do know is what we see on that video. And what we see is the dad walk out of the house very calmly and slowly, play on his cell phone, drive around the block, come back, and call the police like nothing's up. Nobody's running.
No.
Nobody's running to neighbors and banging on their doors. Nobody's even looking around the fence. He's standing there in the front yard. Just turn around and look at the other side of the fence. There's huge fields around the house. Why would you not even look to see if they were sitting there? So that right there tells me pretty much all I need to know.
Just to make a point, the only reason I want to talk about this is there are legitimate questions that you can ask outside of the family that should be nailing this case down and to clear certain things up. If they are labeled special needs children, which from my understanding they are, they would, even though they were adopted from the foster care system, they would still be getting checks. If you have a special need child, the state still pays for certain things, and they pay for therapy, medical stuff, and they still reimburse parents. Number one. So, yeah, it still could be a money thing. Number two, CPS has to lay eyes on kids every so often. They have to do checks. They have to do checks with every adult in the house, and all the children have to be present. So, they should have not, CPS, even though they're not covering the two missing children as adoptive children, even though they're covering the other two foster children, they should have had to have laid eyes on the two
Every
adopted
child.
children.
Yep.
Everybody should have had to been in the house. The house would have been visited before they were allowed to move in to make sure that it was safe. And they would have had to have done a check after they moved in to see that everybody is okay and that they don't
Right.
need additional services. So all these are questions you should be asking for CPS. The second thing is they have 6 kids. She doesn't work. I guess that's been confirmed. He is ex-military. I don't know if he has a pension. I do not know what he did in the military. I'd like to know that. Why he was discharged? Is it a medical discharge? Is he considered a disabled vet? Is he drawing money that way? I don't know. They say he's self-employed. He sells some kind of music thing online. So he doesn't work. Both of these parents are in the house from everything that they've answered. So I would assume they are probably on some type of government assistance just from they have 6 kids and they're under the age of 30. Part of government assistance is if you qualify for food stamp or WIC, they make you get that so that you're still being compensated by the foster care system because they don't want your money or their money to be wasted on stuff that you could be getting for free. Now, when you deal with WIC, the children have to be present to get the vouchers. So somebody in a separate office, usually the health department is where the WIC office is, should have laid eyes on the children in less than 3 months, because that's how often you get your vouchers, for them to get milk, eggs, juice, blah, 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 whatever, yogurt, whatever it covers now. So there are a lot of people outside the family and outside grandma and friends and neighbors that should be able to say 6 kids lived in this house that
Yep.
have no speculation. And if they haven't, they have been derelict in their duty.
Now,
And it's a problem.
I will say that we do not know for sure that there are no sightings or reports from CPS or WIC or anything. But the
Right.
police chief in his interviews, when asked when was the last known sighting of the children, did not answer it. He was very evasive. He didn't really come up with anything. He didn't say, oh, well, CPS saw them during the last home visit 2 months ago. No,
He
we
did
don't
say
know
it
that.
was somebody in Bakersfield, though, which is not
Right,
where they are. So,
right.
but he
So,
wouldn't narrow it down. The other question I had, and it's been when they say 4 of the kids went to grandma's house, well, 2 of those 4 kids are the foster kids, because obviously the adopted kids were supposedly at this house. Is grandma certified by foster care to be respite? If she's not, those kids are not allowed to be with her by themselves.
mhm.
So that should be a big deal. I mean, there's so many questions that people, like mandated reporters, should know the answers to this. And I don't know that they haven't asked these questions. They just haven't been put out in the
Right.
press.
There's two possibilities. Either the police know the answers to all these questions and they just haven't released it, which is quite possible. It's an ongoing investigation. Or there are no known last sightings of the kids before California City.
Right.
And either one, it just, this is a terrible case. These little boys are beautiful. They are still missing. We don't know if they're alive or not. I'm certainly hoping they are. I certainly hope that they were not trafficked. We do know that there was a big FBI bust in Bakersfield yesterday at a motel for human trafficking. It does not appear related to this. That motel was being run kind of like a brothel. They found some underage females and they busted that up pretty good. But we don't know what happened in that case, and we don't know if it was related to this, although it does not appear to be. So as far as the information we actually have in this case, it's almost nothing. It's almost nothing. There are tons of rumors going around online. I don't like them.
I
I
think
don't like.
this is going to get Chris Watts crazy before it's over with.
I do
So I
too.
think like the whole point of talking about this is like, let's focus on what we can actually ask instead of, the mom they were sold to human trafficking. Like, we don't know that yet. We don't know
Yep.
that.
Yep.
These parents are only taking in kids to make a lot of money. They're not making
Mhm.
a lot of money. I can guarantee you that. But we don't know that. We don't know why they started adopting kids. We don't know a whole lot about them,
Right.
period. We do know that they homeschool the kids, which I think is strange because normally foster parents won't homeschool foster kids because they get moved around so much. You can't guarantee you have school records if they're home or whatever.
Right.
If the place they lived before they bought the house was an apartment, and it looks like a pretty nice apartment. I think they were in the middle floor, not the top, not the bottom. If I'm telling you, if they have 6 kids under the age of 8, there was a noise complaint. I want to know who complained, like who at that apartment has seen 6 kids, because everybody from the interviews that have been posted are saying they didn't see 6 kids at the apartment. They were never allowed outside.
Yep.
Not that they were missing, but that the parents didn't let the kids play outside very often. So
Yep.
if you're not even sending them outside to get energy out, you have got to be having noise complaints above, below, or beside in an apartment. There's just no way that's not happening.
Yeah. So as far as this case, I will cover it if there's any, whenever we have actual updates from law enforcement. I don't want to jump on the rumor train. That's not my gig. That's not what I do. There's plenty of channels around covering the case if you want to go do that. But we're not going to do it here. But whenever there is actual official information, I'll bring it to you because I want those little boys found. I really do. But I also don't want to interfere with an active investigation, as we've seen in so many of these cases where too much information is brought out via YouTube and social media. I don't want to be part of that. But any official information, I'll let you know. In the meantime, keep your prayers for Orrin and Orson that they do come home safe and sound.
And keep people's feet to the fire. There is a really good journalist that's covering this that's local. His name is Brian Wang. He has been hounding that chief of police morning and night. No joke. He actually says that in the thing. Have I not
Yep.
called you twice a day since the kids went missing? Yeah, yeah. He asks tough questions. If you want to know what's legitimately out there that's being put out by law enforcement, he's the person to follow. You can find him on Facebook. He's releasing all that stuff. It's just Brian Wang, BayanWang, and he's with something 23 KVLT, I think
Yep.
is it, but I could be wrong.
Yep. He's
But
very active on
he's
Twitter and
very,
Facebook.
very good. Yeah,
He's posting. He's kind of like our Justin Lemonade for this
he
case.
is. Yeah.
So
So
follow him.
the best thing you could do is not to jump on all the conspiracy trains and make it go crazy, but to watch the actual information, because what you don't want is people to start saying, oh, there's a bunch of conspiracies, I'm not even going to pay attention to this,
Yep.
because the media will quit covering it. The minute that it gets uncomfortable to cover, they'll drop it. And as sad as it is, I'm going to be honest, these are two little black boys from foster care system. They're not pretty little blonde-eyed babies that have a ransom note on them. They will fall off the radar if people don't keep watching, keep asking questions, keep pushing for whatever justice needs to be meted out. Whether that is CPS dropped the ball, whether it's something with the adoptive parents, whoever dropped the ball where 2, 3, and 4-year-old children are allowed to be missing for a month, there needs to be justice in that, you know.
Yep. All right, so that's all we know about Orrin and Orson West at the time. Now
Yep.
you're all caught up to date on all the Vallow Daybell news. And remember, the 17th of February, we're doing the live stream of that hearing. I'm assuming it will be broadcast. All of the other hearings and Zoom meetings have been. So join us for that. We're going to talk about that. Jess Nelson, thank you for being here. She also has her own YouTube channel. It's called Know Better, Do Better with Jess. I'm sure one of the mods can drop it in there. You can just find it just by Googling it or searching it on YouTube. A really good uplifting channel with lots of great stuff. So please give Jess a follow over on YouTube and check out some of her videos. You can also talk to us all day long in Discord. Discord is a free to use application where we have text chat, voice chat. You can share videos, memes, all kinds of stuff. We have a text channel for every topic you can imagine. Join us there. It's a great place to get to make some friends, hang out, and all of the documents that we get for these cases, we put them up in there so you can have them and we can talk about it as it happens. So Discord is a great place to be. It's totally free. Doesn't cost anybody anything. So try to join Discord. There's a link in the description so you can get active on that. I do have a video on how to use Discord. If you're afraid of it, don't be afraid. It's easy. Check out the video. And then you'll have a nice community where you can hang out when we're not actually live and doing videos. So we can talk all the time. But I want to say thank you to everyone in chat for being here. Thank you to all the mods. I'm so glad you were here tonight to help out. I appreciate all the support from everyone. You guys are wonderful. And, you know, I've been talking for an hour and a half now. So I'm going to turn it over to Jess and then we'll say goodnight. And I will talk to you guys very soon.
Yep. Well, come to Discord, especially if you're feeling lonely. I know everybody is isolated with this COVID craziness going on. We're usually in the voice chat, you know, at least 2 or 3 times a week. We'll talk about the cases. Sometimes we talk about makeup and food, and you'll
We
hear my
always
dog
talk about
snore.
food.
I'll make some bad jokes. But even if you don't want to read documents, like you can come. We have a whole list of new Bernie Sanders memes, like, where's Bernie? That has absolutely cracked me up for 2 days. 2 days. Bernie Sanders in a Bob Ross painting. We're going to put our little Bernie right here and paint him some happy little mittens. I cracked up. I cracked up so hard. And not political. It's not like we're not making fun of Bernie. There's nothing political on Discord, so it's not. It's not for that. Don't bring it. It's not there. It's just hilarious. But yeah, we have fun. Come visit my channel. I just did a video on mom guilt. I
That
keep
made
them
me
short
cry.
and
That
sweet.
video made me cry. It really
Yeah,
did. It
mom
was so
called. She said, I cried through the whole thing. I'm like, good grief, mom, get a grip.
good.
But yeah, it's fun. I keep them short. They're always uplifting. I'm working on a capsule wardrobe because somebody asked me to do some fashion stuff. Y'all don't know what you're asking for. I'm just saying.
Yep.
But thanks for coming. I'm really glad that I got to talk about this because my mother is sick of me saying, "Have you heard about those kids in California?"
Yep.
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you want more content, I do have a Patreon channel, and the YouTube channel members get access to all the videos that go up there. We're doing a series on manifestation called Practically Magic. It's lots of fun. I'm going to pick that up tomorrow and get the next episode going. We do Patreon and channel member only live streams. So there's a lot of more ways to hang out with us. So hopefully we'll see you all soon. And that's it. I think I'm hungry. I'm going to go get some dinner.
I
What about
know, I'm
you?
starving. We are having breakfast for dinner. I smell cinnamon rolls and bacon.
Oh, nice. We are
I'm
having
ready.
spaghetti bolognese with some garlic bread. So obviously I've not started keto yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I'll pick that up soon.
Yeah.
But thanks everyone. Good night. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll get to them next time we chat.
Yay.
All right. Good night, everyone. Bye,
Night.
Jess.
Bye.